Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today we're going to be taking a look at another one of the Lakeside abstract strategy games. This time we're looking at Trespass. Trespass was released in 1979 by Lakeside Games in the US and by Action GT here in the UK. It's one of several strategy games, all with an abstract look, which Lakeside released in the late 70s, some of which I've already reviewed here on the channel. Like the rest of the Lakeside Action GT games, the box art really doesn't have very much of anything. It's basically just a big photograph of the game, and on the back we don't really have an awful lot more. Again, black and white photographs, a couple of descriptions of the rules, just like all of the other Lakeside abstract strategy games. This is just a two-player game and will take roughly 5 to 10 minutes in order to play this. It's quite asymmetric. There's an attacker and a defender, and both can move in different ways. I think having played this a couple of times, it's definitely easier in one of the roles than it is in the other, but we'll come to that later. For now, let's take a closer look at this. The main game board itself is this really solid, sturdy, good quality plastic grid, which is made up of 11 by 7 squares. It's got these two yellow stripes stuck onto both sides of the game board, and rather than most board games being played flat and horizontal like this, this is designed for playing vertically, for going straight up and down. So it's got an equally thick quality plastic base with the Lakeside Games logo on it, which those legs just fit into and slide in there, and then that can sit onto your playing surface ready to start the game. Got 11 of these red attacker pieces which will slot straight into the board, 4 black blocker pieces and 1 yellow striker piece. The red attacker pieces slot into the square holes beneath the yellow line here. And then the second player's pieces are slotted into the other side of the board, so for this it needs to be turned around. The yellow striker goes into the centre below the yellow line, and the 4 black blockers go 2 on either side of that. Now this is a very asymmetric game. The two players have two very different ways of winning. In order for the attacker to win, they need to get any one of these red attacking pieces over this yellow line at the top here. For the defender to win here, they need to block or push out all of the red pieces so that none of them can possibly cross this yellow line. This line is their home base. They need to defend this at all costs. On the attacker's turns, they can take any one of their 11 red attacking pieces and move it 1 space, but only 1 space, and they can only move straight up. If they eventually cross the line, then they've won. Now remember that these can only go straight up. They cannot go to the sides or diagonally or even backwards. If a red attacking block meets a black blocker, then that blocker stops them. Red cannot move past black, so they're going to be stuck there unless that black moves and goes somewhere else. The defender obviously has a lot less options because they've only got 5 pieces to play with rather than the 11 that the attacker's got. However, those 5 pieces can do a lot more and can move a lot more. The black blocker pieces can move in a straight line in any direction as far as they want to. They can go in a straight line down or up. They can go in a straight line left or right as far as they want to. And they can even go diagonally as far as they want to. But of course, they can only move once per turn. If the defender chooses to move the yellow striker piece on their shot, then they can move it in any direction but only one place. It can obviously go down, left and right, and also diagonally, and it can go back up the board. If the yellow striker piece is moved 1 space to meet a red, it pushes it out of the board and that red piece is out of play. It cannot be used anymore. And this is one of the small things where I think this design could have been improved. If there had been a tray built into this stand at the bottom here to catch those red pieces, I think that would be much nicer, because normally otherwise they get pushed out by the yellow striker and they bounce all over your table. And as far as game mechanics go, that really is it. As soon as the red crosses over the yellow line and gets up into any of these spaces here, the game is over and red has won. So the rules and how the pieces move are really, really simple. But this is a great strategy game, and you have to really think about what you're doing and how you're going to get past the defender, or if you're defending, how you're going to use those only 5 pieces in order to contain and stop this continuous onslaught from these 11 other pieces. To really appreciate this game, you really do need to see it being played in order to appreciate the tactics and the strategy that might be going on.
It's a primitive clash, pitting years of frustration. Bravely we hope against all hope. There is so much at stake. Seems our freedom's up against the ropes. Does the crowd understand? Is it east versus west? Or man against man? Can any nation stand alone? In the burning heart, just about to burst, there's a quest for answers and unquenchable thirst. In the darkest night, rising like a fire. In the burning heart, the unmistakable fire. In the burning heart.
Players are encouraged to play several games, taking it in turns being the attacker and the defender. And having played both of those roles a couple of times, I would say that this, as far as weighting and balance goes, is definitely easier being the attacker. Having those 11 pieces all spread out across the bottom of the board that you can use really does help, particularly if you use the strategy of trying to move some up the left side and then some up the right side, so that the defender, who's only got one striker that can only move one space at a time, is going to have to really split that and try and get it from one side of the board all the way to the other, and try and use those blockers to hold those attacking pieces in place until they get there. Having said that, it is entirely possible to win this game as a defender. It's not quite as easy, but it can be done. Unfortunately, in that video that you just saw there, I did not manage it that time. But it is definitely possible, and I have won that way quite a few times. It's a really simple, easy to learn game, which is very quick to set up. The pieces are really nice quality, thick plastic, that nothing here is going to break or snap easily, and it's really easy to play. You do have to get your head around lots of different tactics that you can use, and there is a lot of strategy in this. So I actually really do like this game. Now, for me, I would like it probably a little bit more if it wasn't so abstract, if it had a bit more of a theme to it. I don't know, the kind of thing that comes to mind straight away is the old classic arcade Space Invaders. I think if some of these blocks had maybe alien spaceships on them, or if the red attacker blocks were maybe missiles or spaceships which were trying to escape from Earth's atmosphere, I think that would kind of really sell it to me a bit more, even just with stickers applied to them. But as it is purely on a strategic strategy game level, I really like this game. It's quite a good one. Like most abstract strategy games, you can pick this up pretty cheaply. There's not a big market for this. There's not a lot of demand. So even on eBay, these tend to go for round about the £5 mark. So if you can get it cheaply, it definitely is a recommendation from me. Lakeside, I think, really did strike gold when they came up with this series of games. So far, I've pretty much enjoyed all of them, and we will be taking a look at the rest of them later on. But until next time, stay tuned. This is Attic Raiders Retro Reviews. If you like what you've seen here, please consider liking and subscribing, and check out some of these other videos on the channel.